Okay, tonight we are going to see the book The Modern Move by Move, written by Cyrus Lakdawala. Lakdawala is a very prolific author. He has written everything possible. This book, Move by Move, is based on 70 games that should cover all a possible repertoire for black um, on the modern. The modern is opening that based on E4, G6. Now, I don't have to sell you a book, honestly. I don't care. So I will show you a thing that I believe is interesting and that generally authors do when they have to write a book because they just show you the good side but not the bad side of an opening. So the game number one is Janosevich against Satos. And Satos was this famous, or the only Grandmaster Canada had in those times. I think it was in the 1960s, 1970s. Okay, I don't know the situation today, honestly. The game starts with E4 and G6. Here, Lakdawala says, enter the rabbit hole, my friend. I still remember the initial shock I received when first going over the game in 1969. I didn't know that Lakdawala was so old. He said, a mind-altering experience. D4, bishop G7, knight F3, and D6. Okay, previously, a couple of days ago, I made two videos on another book by Lakdawala that was 1D6 because, like I said in that video, Lakdawala did a great job at showing you all the ideas behind the moves more than just the memorization of opening moves and then you don't know what you are doing or why. So in my opinion, Lakdawala did a good job in that book, but of course, maybe I just showed two games of that book. I should show more to make you understand what he did and why. And probably I will do it too, okay? So knight C3, C6, and here he says, back in the old days we all played C6. Moderns, since it never occurred to us to play E6. Question, what are the differences between C6 and E6? This is why the series of books by Everyman Chess called Move by Move are very useful. Why? Because he asks you questions, right? And he says, answer, I think for A6 is an improvement for this reason. In the C6 lines, black often plays B5, A6, bishop B7, okay, and C5 later on. Well, in the A6 lines, we cut out the single redundancy of a C6 middleman. So the idea is the same, no? Track, track, and boom. So you have gained one tempo. That's the point that he's trying to make. So that's why Lakdawala does a great job, because also on a single move he shows you why this is better than this, okay? And so he says this is an unnecessary move, but obviously in the 1960s they didn't have computers, and so it was probably, you know, based on their own researches. Okay, in any case, Sattles Duncan played c6, and he was an expert of his opening. So one thing you can do when you want to learn an opening is to find your own role model and check all his games as black, and you will see how he plays it and why. However, you will have a surprise because after I show you this game played by Sattles, I will show you another game that Sattles plays against the god of chess, and the god of chess steamrolls him with his favorite opening. Okay, so after c6, bishop e2, knight d7, castle, and can you imagine what Duncan Sattles played at this point? He played knight h6, and here he says hallucinogens are optional. As always, Sattles imposes his anarchistic Sutzletian worldview upon the board. You must keep in context that in the 1969 Yoko hadn't yet messed everything up with the Beatles. We all dress outlandishly, all the while thinking aberrant, odd thoughts and doing groovy, psychedelic, perplexing things. Question. Black move has to be bad, right? Answer, good and bad. Virtue and sin go out of the window in these 60s modern dreamscapes. Black eccentric last move keeps open possibilities of f6, knight f7, and even f5. Okay, so that was the idea probably. But normal would have been probably to play something like this, queen c7, okay? And here he quotes a game with Topolov, played in 1997. So after queen c7 there is a4, knight g f6, h3, and castle. And here he says normal would be something like this, Topolov Rauschenbach, Frankfurt Rapid, but Sattles never ever played moderns like this one. Okay, so let's return back to the position, and he played this, okay, and this must go back, sorry. So that's what he played. How did white continue here? Here he played bishop g5. Here he says provoking f6. The trouble is Sattel probably intended to play the move anyway. So generally you don't want to play a move that obliges your opponent to play what he wanted. You try to play a move that doesn't give him a tempo advantage. And here there is this rook e1 that was played against Sattles again in the Palma de Mallorca Interzonal in 1970. The famous Palma de Mallorca Interzonal was where Fischer steamrolled everybody, apart maybe Larsen in that tournament, but then he, with a revenge, won 6-0 against Larsen. So eventually one should watch this game that was Jimenez Zerquera against Sattles, and it was with rook e1. So Lakdawala preferred this move to this. Why? Because obviously f6 is coming. And how does the game continue? Generally, one doesn't want to lose the bishop pair, so he returns back. But returning back is a waste of a tempo, right? And black play castle. And then there is d5. And here in the game, Sattles played f5, but Andrew Martin, the famous international master that has created many courses for chess base, and he has written also extensively on openings, suggests c5 because he prevents a white knight from going on d4, okay? Because otherwise it's a beautiful central square that the white knight will occupy. Okay, so however in the game f5 was played, knight d4. So you see, it's not only knight d4, it's going here, it's attacking there. It's interesting. Now it's true that white wins a pawn after playing this, d takes c6. Okay? Can you imagine how? Let me show it to you, okay? D takes c6, right? B takes c6, knight d4, knight e5, and now can you imagine what white will play? Because I'm showing it to you because I think you need to be aware of this kind of tacticism that can happen in this kind of position. Boom. Knight takes c6. Huh? Beautiful or not? You say, wow, what? I take back, right? Yeah, you take back, but then there is this. Okay, so guys, you need to be aware of things like this because they do happen in a game and they make you lose a pawn. So you must be kind of careful because in some cases against some opponents to lose a pawn means to lose the game because you're not able to recover it anymore. Okay, so after knight d4, what did black play? No? Because this is a move that will come as a shock, probably, for two reasons. One, because it's the only active piece, since this is dead inside there, no? And so to exchange it, it doesn't make much sense, right? But here is the comment by Lakdawala after bishop takes d4. The question is, what the h? I cannot say the word because it could be censored. And the answer is no. This isn't a dream or a move played on the theory that a few bitter greens enhance the salad. We are reminded of the lyrics of Gordon Lightfoot. So, okay, I'm sorry, but sometimes I cannot really follow Lakdawala analogies because they are made on stuff that I don't know. So it says, are you confused yet? I'm not sure if this move deserves a double interrogation mark or a double exclamation mark. If a double interrogation means it's a blunder, double exclamation is excellent, it's something great. So I hedged my bets and gave it one of each, which means the move is interesting, right? Who knows if Sattle's win was the result of a mind-bendingly deep strategic plan or simply an accident of grace which fell before his feet. I realize Black's last move looks as out of place as Hulk Hogan at the library. So, guys, as you can see, the book was written kind of a long time ago because Hulk Hogan just died, I think a month ago. It certainly feels like black pushes his position far past tolerable limits. Why? Because you understand, this is attack, this, how would you do that? It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay. And is handing over his monster Dark Square Bishop for no visible compensation. The original sin in the modern. Keep in mind, though, every religion cherishes its dogmas which unbelievers like Sattles reject. In this case, black does indeed accrue a subtle gain in exchange for the trade. It takes control over e5. So that's the goal of that move. But he says instead of the Sattles, the rest of us would play this. But he doesn't say if it's good or not. So I don't know. And now, what do you think you should get back with if you are white? Because as black you need to calculate both, no? This or this, which of the two? It seems that if you play bishop takes d4, there is c5, and then you go back. So it's not a good idea. The move played in the game was queen takes d4, but queen takes d4 is in a sense terrible. Why? What do you think black is going to play now? Black is going to play f4. Boom. And that's kind of interesting, huh? Here it says black's idea is create an artificial all on e5 for a knight. And now you must understand that when they play between top players, grandmaster level, they don't react the way I do, which is silly, because I can only think to remove the bishop, right? What does he do? He does a completely different thing. In this case, he played d takes c6, okay? B takes c6, and then, boom, bishop c4. So this is not the best move. Probably the best move was this, queen c4, okay? Why queen c4 was the best move? Now I show you. After knight f7, that if you remember guys, Lakdawala told us, then white would take on c6 instead of again moving this. So you see how beautiful is this game in a sense, because it teaches you a lot. With queen takes c6 is attacking there, right? Rook b8, and now he needs really to go, otherwise he will lose it, and so he plays bishop c1. Now, is this kind of sacrifice made by black sound? If Lakdawala says, who knows, but clearly black gets all sort of practical chances after the sack. Why? Because he says he controls this square, no? There is a possibility of pushing, and that could be another big problem for white at a certain point. And he says, thanks to that sacrifice, black gains a kind of Banco Gambit pressure on the queen side files. So as you can see, in order to play this kind of opening, you need not to be scared to give material at the right moment, okay? So now let's return back to the game, right? Let's hope I get it right. I think I got it right. Huh? Yeah. Okay, the move was instead bishop c4 instead of queen c4. Here Cyrus says that probably white was afraid of giving black the initiative for the pawn. Maybe that's the reason. Oh, who knows? Okay, bishop c4. Again, this move, knight f7. And it seems that this game was also commented or annotated by Andrew Martin, because after this move, bishop takes f4, he says white has been suitably confused, writes Martin. White sacks a piece for 3 pawns, but in doing so loses the initiative. So what was the alternative? The alternative was to go back and then have this, okay? And so this would have been a kind of initiative for black that probably white didn't want to give. So after bishop takes f4, obviously black plays e5. And now, what do you think white will do? Because obviously you need to see when you give material or something what happens next, right? The next move is queen takes d6. That is not, maybe some people don't see it because they don't understand that there is a pin there, right? So when there is a pin, that piece is not defending anything. In this case, it is an absolute pin, right? Okay, queen takes d6, e takes f4, and now there is rook a d1. Cyrus says he would have preferred to play queen takes f4. Okay, so what does black do in this position? Here it doesn't ask you, but I'm gonna ask you because I think you need to be in Sato's place and try to find the move if you really want to play this opening. Now there are 2 strong moves. One could be this, f3, but the move played in the game is this, queen g5. As you can see, you cannot win a game, a chess game, without strong moves. You cannot win a chess game if you are scared. You need to play always attacking. Oh, now, the point to me here is, okay, this is a nice attacking move, but does really black have a majority on the king side to justify that attack? Oh. Okay, bishop takes f7, and here he says he cuts black's Siamese twin knights surgically free of one another. But I want to show you one thing because I think it's interesting. Okay, let's say that white played this. Okay, then there is a very nice thing for black. I hope you will see it. Just pause the video for a second and try to guess how would black continue. Black continue with boom, knight e5. And now, if white makes the big blunder of taking on a8, obviously there is a checkmate. Okay, the checkmate is knight f3, king here, and queen h5. 5. Okay. So I don't know if you see it, obviously, tac, 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 and then of course there is this, right? So I think that's the end of the road for white. So let's go back. I think it was interesting, right, to waste a minute to see this interesting continuation, because this also teaches you how to attack and destroy the opponent castle. Okay, so the idea was, if he played queen takes c6 and instead he played bishop takes f7. So as you can see, white saw that possibility. Now there is rook takes f7, queen takes c6, and f3. Now, of course, there is only g3, I think. Knight b6, obviously is trying to free the bishop. Knight d5, and bishop d7. This is very interesting, right? Queen d6, and here it seems the best move for the computer, but we don't know if it's a computer of 10 years ago or more, is rook c8. Instead, Satos, that wasn't playing with computers behind, he calculated this line, knight c4, queen b4, rook c8. I think I already told you guys, this is a book with 70 games, which gives you an entire repertoire on the modern. And of course, now there is the move that creates enough attackers around the white king, this move, knight e5. Okay, so something is gonna happen very soon here. Knight e3, queen h6, and rook d5. And now there is a beautiful move by black. What would you play? What would you play here? Because you see, this is a defender, okay? What is defender? It's a defender of this square, which prevents black from doing this, right? So what do you do to remove the defender? And the move, obviously, is knight g4. Knight takes g4, bishop takes g4, and here what did white played? He played h4. So you're black, what do you play? This is quite simple, right? The move is rook takes c2. Rook ft1, and here it seems it goes back. Now it seems that Houdini, the time he was using Houdini, but I don't think he exists anymore as engine. Can you imagine? Houdini gave this move, queen e3. That's funny, huh? And there is a mate, but is in so many moves that I don't think a human can see it. So Sattles played obviously safe, he returned back, that makes more sense, honestly. And white started to push the pass pawn. No? Let's see, bishop e6, rook d8, rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and king g7. As you can see, this is good in a sense for black, because pushing the pawn has prevented from getting the control of a diagonal, right? And now queen c3, queen h5, and here there is a mistake by white, that is king f1. And what should have played? He should have played this move, queen e1. No? Also, if in any case black is winning, okay? But now with king f1, guys, you need to find the right continuation. How would you win in this situation? Okay, what is the move that you play as black? The move played by black is queen f5, which is a double attack, right? Black threats are between this and here. Okay. Now you say, but what does it mean? If it is here, I can do this, right? Yeah, you can do that, but then there is this. And so I don't think it's a good idea, right? And so that's the thing, is becoming hopeless, right? And here after rook d6, he played queen b1, and nothing, the game is over. Yeah, he just show you the same line that I immediately thought, because this kind of two moves, you must have practically your own checkmate patterns and be able to see them automatically, okay? So this was game number 1, Janosevich against Sattles, chosen by Cyrus Lakdawala to open his book on the modern. I check all the games, and there is not the game that Sato lost against Bobby Fischer. So here we have the entire collection of Bobby Fischer games, and I want to show you that game because I think it's important to see both sides of the thing, right? This game is game 463, played by Fischer against Duncan. I will also, if generally Fischer is white, obviously, and he wins, and generally I show you the game from the winning side, so I would put the white pieces there. I will leave the black pieces on that side because I think the people who are going to watch this video, they want to learn the modern, and so they must be aware of what happens when things don't go in the way you want with the modern, right? I understand the approach taken by Lakdawala, because he obviously show you a game that is inspiring, but we must keep it also real. So this game was played in the US Championship December 12 to 30th, 1965, New York City. Okay. And this championship from 1965, Fischer won 8.5 out of 12 games or 11 games. Yeah. Okay. So e4, g6, d4, bishop g7, knight c3, d6, bishop e3, c6. As we can see, he has the same idea, but watch Fischer, because this is what they said about Fischer. His pieces landed on the right square. Fischer doesn't play this, Fischer play this. And now what do? You cannot play knight h6. And so this starts to become funny, right? So knight d7, and boom, f4, and knight g f6. So this is a kind of Austrian attack against the Pirc, but this is the modern defense. Huh? And now knight f3, because that bishop cannot get out anymore. So as you can see, Fischer knew how to develop the pieces perfectly. To tell you the truth, however, there is a chapter in the book about this formation. I will make a video also about the chapter, so don't be afraid. I will not let you hang at all. Obviously, he played castle, and immediately Fischer played this because he doesn't want probably knight g4, right? And here we see what Lakdawala said, that there was b5, bishop d3, knight b6, b3, e5, castle, b4, and knight e2. Honestly, it doesn't seem bad for black, because, okay, he has centralized the pieces, he has finished, but black has more space in this case, so I don't know why Sattles lost. That's interesting. d5, e5, knight e4. Oh, okay. Queen e1, f5. He has tried to have a strong outpost, or probably is doing something else. Let's see what he does. Oh, and look at here. Fischer doesn't answer, for example, with en passant or taking. He goes on another side of the board and plays a3. This move, this book has been written by Carsten Müller, annotated by Carsten Müller. It says a typical undermining move. B takes a3, rook takes a3. And the black continue with a4. But look how Fischer changed the theater. From the center that is blocked, he goes on the queen side. Queen a1, bishop a6. And here there is a mistake by Fischer. This is a dubious move here. Bishop takes a6. And here he says, this exchange helps black to develop. White should just develop with rook b1. So instead of taking, he should have played this. So to bring all the pieces on the queen side. Okay. Okay. Rook takes a6. And knight c3. Wow. Queen c7. Obviously, black doesn't want to give up the knight that is here, right? Knight e1, rook f a8. Wow, they are all fighting on this side. Now you understand why this is a little out of the game. Wow. And notice this is just a pawn at this point. But also that doesn't have a big amount of squares. Okay. So Fischer continue with knight d3, rook 6, a7. So as you can see, guys, it's also important to watch a lot of games, and when I got the request for this for the review of this book, and I saw that the fourth game was Satos Black, I remember that there was this other game, because that I remember I saw it a long time ago, I think. So I don't remember the game at all, but I remember that Fischer destroyed Satos. Queen b2, and here is it is better to simply take the pawn with knight takes a4. So, and here he gives a line, okay? So also this queen b2 seems is not good. The problem obviously is that Kartenmüller writes, you know, like 50 years later with computer, when the computer obviously is able to tell you what is better. e6, and now there is knight c5. And here there is a good move by black, that is bishop f8. Obviously, if white makes the mistake to take on e6, there is bishop takes a3, queen takes a3, and queen e7, he says. And white has lost the game. So this is interesting. Okay, so let's see it again. Knight takes e6, bishop takes a3, queen takes a3, queen e7. And here it gives advantage to black, decisive advantage to black. Because the rook is keeping the queen, and then this pawn can become a problem. Oh wow, interesting. Because then maybe this falls. That's very a problem. He should have given a little more moves, probably, right? Okay, so after bishop f8 is rook fa1. And here there is a mistake by Satos, that is king f7. Why it's a mistake? Because now he loses this pawn. Knight takes a4, b takes a4, now white has a pass pawn, and the bishop takes c5, d takes c5. Obviously black cannot take because there is this. And now there is another dubious move, that is king g8. It seems it was better to play rook a5 because it would block that, right? With a more active setup. Rook b3. That's kind of interesting. And here he plays queen a5. So I think we need to understand what's going on here. Because rook takes a4. What would white play? Rook takes a4. Rook takes a4. And rook b8 check. The king needs to go on here. And then rook b7, gobbling the queen. Okay, now I understand. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Queen a5, okay. And here there is a diagram. So guys, when there is a diagram, you need to pull up the brakes and stop and think, what would you play if you were white? So try to pause the video and think for white for a second, okay? The move is King H2. And here he writes, such prophylactic king moves are a hallmark of a strong player. White's forces will invade on the queen side anyway. Okay. See, generally you avoid the possibility that the opponent has a kind of counterplay, right? So, H5. Black should take measures against the coming invasion of white's major pieces, but his position is very difficult in any case. So he says that instead of H5, it was better this. As you can see, guys, that's why you cannot really learn just the moves from an opening book. You need to watch many games to understand what's going on and what works and what not, right? So what does white play? Rook b8, rook takes b8, queen takes b8, and king h7 is a mistake. It was better to play this, okay? King g7. Rook b1, and here Sattles make a mistake because the best move would have been queen c7. Instead he got greedy, and when you get greedy you generally pay, right? Also because the truth is this, do you really think Fischer didn't see that? No. He says these greedy moves run directly into a mating attack. Okay, so what is the mating attack here? Try to think for white for a minute, pause the video and try to find the next white move, because it will be very useful also in your own games. The move is queen f8. Okay. So if you take here rook b8 and this game over, right? Because you cannot escape. So he played rook g7, again rook b8, you cannot escape that. G5. I think I have done something stupid like that, so obviously Sattles shouldn't be blamed, because unfortunately we are all a little silly sometimes. Queen h8, king g6, queen e8, rook f7, and of course the final move is rook b7, ending up the game and winning the game. So this, as you can see, it's the ultimate Fischer collection, and since Sattles is such a good role model for the modern, I wanted to show you what happens when you actually get a guy that is top level, and it really destroy everybody. We saw that in the opening it was kind of interesting the way that Fischer opened, yet I think it was all decided on this queen side. So I think it was interesting to understand that. We would have fought as white to start that thing on the queen side. Would we have been able to win that thing like Fischer did? And then, of course, this last thing, it's silly. He made really a big mistake. He wasn't aware of the danger, like Fischer did, but he avoided any kind of problems. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you.